can you see this person's perspective,
Right.
but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
Welcome in, everybody. It is Wednesday. It is lunch date time. I always say that if you're sitting at your computer tater and you're having your lunch, it is what we do. We unpack all sorts of heavy luggage for a lighter spirit, and that's what we do. And of course, EB is here. We love our Elizabeth. She's here. This is a very interactive show, and we invite you to wherever you are to leave your comments. I try to watch on several different portals. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter. We are on lots of different places. And I'm going to start posting on my LinkedIn page too.
Okay.
I pull a little clip and each time we, I think it'd be really cool to have it there as well.
Nice. I like our little Main Street Media with Tennessee in the middle of it.
I said, it's, I'm just kind of adding what we do. We do a lot of programming here at Main Street. And this one is it's something that Teri and I do together. And we share it with our Main Street audience. On Main Street Today's audience. And Leslie is joining us. Hi, good morning. And it does feel like spring, Elizabeth. It does kind of have we do kind of have a spring vibe going on today. Of course, tomorrow it's going to rain in Middle Tennessee. So enjoy today.
Or get your feet muddy tomorrow, whichever.
Well, that's true. I got 6 new little chickens at my house today. My little hen, I knew something was up because she just stopped hanging out with the other hens. She stopped hanging out in the hen house, and she moved her eggs, and she is in my old cat that passed away, his igloo that went from the homeless community where he was a part of their group. And then he said, wherever his igloo is, he's home. Well, he passed away. He was ancient and no other cat would use it. But do you know that chicken loves that igloo? And so I go, well, you know what? Whether it's a black cat or a black chicken, she likes it. She's sleeping on some of my old fuzzy pajamas in there.
There you go. Well, see, that's what happens when we get ready to expand and grow. We have to leave that hen house full of drama, and we have to set out on our own little journey. They just dropped in on me like that,
and how that kind of worked. It worked all in. And that's what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about doing our best. Don't stress. Do your best. That is what today's little topic is. I found this little thing to talk about. Don't stress. Do your best. And based on the 4 agreements, which we have got, you have got something planned. Not me. I can't be there on that day, but coming up on February 26th, we're doing a book study of the 4 agreements.
Yes,
and we're going to unpack it a little bit for those people who might not be able to attend, but at the same time, it's a lot more if you go to Teri's house.
It's a lot more. We're going to be in depth and unpacking all 4 of the agreements and how they show up and affect our lives, and also how to tweak them just a little bit. So that when you're living your best life, you're working with those same principles, and life tends to move a little smoother. It's a 1-day workshop, so it'll be from 10 until 4. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be at my office, and all those details we'll give later. But always do your best. That's a tricky one actually all 4 of the 4 agreements can be tricky. Only because of our outside information that comes into us. So whether it's social media, whether it's family, whether it's self-expectations.
Right.
Because doing our best, if we're a perfectionist, then doing our best sometimes isn't even good enough. It needs to be better than our best. And that's just crazy making.
It is. It really, truly is. And we can get caught up in expectations when you join that with anything. Expectations can let us down.
Absolutely.
Rhonda's with us now. Too.
Hey, Rhonda.
I'm struck by the people who think that somehow when something doesn't meet our expectations at the end of it, we think we haven't done our best. But
Right.
that's not true. That's not
Right.
true. You run in a marathon and you don't win.
Right. As a general rule of thumb with my daughter when she was growing up, and I would say, well, did you do your best? And she would say, yeah. And I would say, then that's good enough. And I get it that we live in a world where, sometimes we can cop out and say, well, I did my best. But I can assure you, if you got that kind of tone going on, you're not doing your best. You're trying to get out of doing your best.
That's right.
So there's a difference in being honest with yourself, like brutally honest with yourself. Am I doing my best showing up in this friendship, in this relationship, in this experience in life, whatever that experience is? And if the answer is no, then instead of judging yourself, first find out, do you want to do better? And if you do, start navigating that course.
Here's something else too. Sometimes when we buy into other people's expectations of what we need to do, oh, you need to join this club, or you need to join this group, or you need to be part of this, or you need to do this with your life. I find that sometimes we say, well, I did my best, but we half-ass it because it's not what we want to do.
Exactly.
And if you truly want something and you truly do your best at something, the expectation for the outcome should not be your pressure. Your pressure should come from, well, am I doing all I can do to bring this about? You know what I mean?
And really, even exchanging the word pressure for your accountability.
Right. Good point. That's really good. See,
because we can tend to get pressured into a lot of things, but at the end of the day, we're agreeing to do it. So for whatever reason that is, and that's not something that we unpack obviously in one launch date, but that is, we have to be accountable with how we're showing up and what we're agreeing to do. And first and foremost, if your goal is to do your best, then cutting yourself that slack, giving yourself some grace, that is, we can't really always do our best right out of the gate. Sometimes we have to learn to walk that or crawl that or whatever the analogy is that we want to use. There's always going to be time to grow and to learn something. We can always do better.
Rhonda says, I heard someone say yesterday, and I actually heard someone say this yesterday too. I was, I did a virtual class, which I do at least once every couple of weeks, some kind of virtual class. I heard someone say, if you're not afraid of your dreams aren't big enough. I think there's a lot of validity to that. Is like our dreams can scare us, I think is what it is. I mean, if we get, and scare or being afraid might be the wrong thing. Maybe we get those little butterflies or flying, creatures in our belly that make us, excitement can replace the word fear.
I think excitement,
the same.
Yeah, I would agree. Excitement or inspiration feels better than, especially people that have had wounded lives or traumatic lives or neglectful lives. A lot of times what's associated with, well, if you're not fearing it, then it's not big enough. That can fall in line with, well, geez, now I'm afraid of it. Well, why do you want to create something and breathe life into something that you're going to be afraid of?
Right.
Like,
yeah,
that doesn't make sense to me. But everybody has their own mode of motivation. So different words work for different people.
Well, I'm making sure that I have your page open so I can follow some of our comments there as well, because sometimes we don't get all of them. So if you're leaving a comment somewhere and you go, well, they never mention my name and they never talk about what I'm doing. So I'm trying to get everybody's stuff where I can read it at the same time. So That's what I'm doing
You're
right now.
doing your best, Devon. You don't have
I
to
am.
excuse that. You're just doing your best, girl.
Well, I'm not bored with the situation watching my phone. Okay, there you go. I'm not. I'm just trying to watch. So if you're leaving comments on transcending turbulence, I'm gonna watch those too. um, one of the things I think that we become our own worst critic is when we show up. I did a 5K. Now I know that's hard to believe. It ain't my thing. It's not my thing. I'm not a runner. And I always say I don't run unless somebody's chasing me or something is chasing me. But I went on a 5K and my expectation was that I would finish. That was it. That was my expectation. And I came in last. I called my group the Turtles, and we had everybody that was last. And there was a young woman who had struggled, and she had lost 150 pounds since the last time that 5K had been run. Her group, she was so excited. She'd only watched her sister run, and she was with us, and her group went way ahead, and she kept drifting back and drifted back. She was red in the face, and she was sweating. And by the end, she says, she was crying. Well, in my group were 2 amputees that were former Marines. And right before, she thought, I'm going to pass out. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to do it. And these 2 Marines in my group, Team Turtle, flanked her on both sides. And they said, no man left behind, ma'am. No man left behind. And they walked her across that finish line. And she finished her first marathon, her first 5K. And I thought, you know what? That's the deal. We all did our best. We got through it. Did we come in last? Yeah. But our expectation was not to win. Our expectation was to do it and to finish it. And that's what we did. And we celebrate each other as we bring each other up. Sometimes our best involves other people. And maybe the best is helping someone complete their story.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And also just being mindful that you finished it, you completed it. So really, the only judgment that comes in there of where you've placed is, sharing where you placed. Otherwise, nobody knows, and it's not that you're keeping it from, it's just that sometimes can be a way of, if you're sharing a beautiful story with somebody whose glass is half empty, then it's like, oh, okay. So y'all came in last, and they missed the whole beauty of the story. They missed the inspiration of the story. They missed the authenticity of the story,
Well, I had a lot of people who teased me about being last, and I said, oh, we weren't last. I said, oh yeah, we saw you. You guys were last. I said, oh my gosh, we won the race. And here's why we won. And I told them the story of some of the people in our group. And I think about it and I go, you know what? Sometimes we have to redefine the outcome and go, oh, no. What you don't understand about my life is beautiful. Thank you, Angela, for liking that story, and Elizabeth as well. And Rhonda, she's somebody I know that always shares a positive side to a story. She can certainly do that as well. She said, Rhonda says she's going to finish the race on her own 2 feet. And if anybody will do that, I believe that Rhonda will do it. She and her service dog, Ice 3, I think will probably be right there. And she's going to have him on a leash, and they're going to be walking that walk.
There you go.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the expectations that we place on ourselves. Let's talk about where those start and why we feel like we let ourselves down, or we feel like we let other people down on a regular basis. I think that comes up a lot in our lives. Let's talk about expectations.
Well, I think expectations our initial expectations come from the seeds that are planted in us, in our thoughts. And if we feel like we're disappointing someone or we haven't done our best to make that person happy, then sometimes those expectations become unspoken expectations. Sometimes people are very clear with what they expect of us. Parents have different expectations for their children, and adults and partners have different expectation in relationships. Employees and employers have different expectations for both of those. So
Mhm.
there's differences in those. I work with a lot of young adults who sometimes parents aren't, they do have really high expectations, and
Mhm.
that can induce a lot of worry and fear in their young adult child, because they feel like they're not good enough,
Right.
and when we buy into that, and we repeat that, or we put that on the spin cycle enough in our head, then it becomes a truth for us. And people around us can say, well, that's crazy. Why would you ever believe that? But it's because things are modeled to us. So we have these personal expectations where we don't want to let people down. We want people to like us. We don't want to whatever.
Mhm.
But in holding an expectation for someone else, or us trying to complete something in an expectation of someone else, we're missing our own experience in that part of that journey.
Oh, y'all. Did y'all just hear that? We hold expectations of others, but we miss our experience. Oh, that's good. Elizabeth says, I've always had high expectations of myself. It's hard to live up to. It's easier to have grace with others than myself. Whew, that's a lot.
Girl. Yes, but it's doable. You can absolutely change that if you commit to changing that. We can do anything if it's a priority, or if it's a not a priority, but if it is a well, if it stirs our soul and we truly want to do it, we can achieve it on some level. We have to be real with the spectrum of, or the scale of that level, right? I've said before, I was joking with somebody one time, and I said, oh, I can't, I'll never be a Victoria's Secret model. Well, do I want to be one? Well, no, I don't want to be one. I don't. Not that I knock it, great, but I'm not going to put the work in to have a body like that. That's not important to me. Like, that is not a priority for me. Do I want to be healthy? Yes. So when we get real with like what our, I've had people say, well, when I say, well, you can create anything. And they're like, well, I can't be the president. Well, do you want to be the president? Well, no. Okay, well then put something out there that you really want to do. You want to build your own home. Want to finish a marathon. What is it that you want to do? And start there. Don't start with the things that you really don't want to do, because those things are just supporting the fact that you can't do it anyway.
I used to make the joke is like, well, I'll never be a ballet dancer. I took 8 years of dance growing up. I loved ballet. I loved being on toe shoes. I loved every part of the ballet. I loved dancing. And I wasn't the greatest dancer by any stretch of the imagination. I wasn't even to the level of good. I took it for 8 years, but I loved it. And when I said to someone one time, they said, what is it? What is one of your big regrets? And I said, I'll never be a ballet dancer. And they said to me, did you want to be a ballet dancer? I mean, you don't seem like the type to be a ballet dancer. Well, if you want to be a ballet dancer, you may not have to dance for, the New York City Ballet, but what if you practiced ballet in your home? What if you got a bar, and what did you love about ballet? And I said, oh, I love the way it made me feel, the stretches and what it did for my being. And I just loved it. I loved the music. And so, well, why don't you do that at home? Fix you a place in your house, in your basement, whatever, and
Absolutely.
dance, wear your leotard. If you want to wear the leotard or a tutu or a pair of toe shoes or just plain old ballet, do your 5 positions and go, I can still do this. And we can reframe our dreams and do our best within that framework. And then that helps.
Absolutely. And I work a lot with the littles, right? So when you're sharing that story with me and I hear someone saying, I'll never be a ballet dancer. I'm not, whether it's I'm not good enough or I'm not trained enough or I'm not whatever. If you were to line up your littles, which one of your littles wanted to be a ballet dancer? Like if you picked one, which one would it be? What age would they be?
The first thing that came into my head, 8 years old.
Okay. So if Devon O'Day reached inside her right now and pulled out that 8-year-old little and stood her beside you, and there she was with her bare feet, her little tutu, and she was like, I'm going to be a ballet dancer. Would you ever in a million years look at that 8-year-old and go, no, you're not going to be a ballet dancer? Or would you say, girl, do your thing. You rock that tutu. You just dance around this house and do all them spins and twirls. And you would applaud that little one and you would say, well done. We don't do that for ourselves as adults. We go, So I challenge everybody, to when they hear themselves saying, I can't do this, or this is too hard, or I'll never be. First, ask yourself, is it something you want to be? Do you want to be that?
Right.
And if it's not, then go to something that you do want to be. Maybe something that you want to be is not, maybe it's not on the scale of being a president or being an astronaut. Maybe it's on the scale of, I want to be a gardener. We'll get you some seeds and some soil and a pot and garden. That scale is so big. You don't have to be a gardener for a country to supply food for everybody. You can create your own, and you are a gardener at that point.
Oh my gosh, that is it. That's powerful. Angela says, I struggle with alcoholism. I no longer tell people when I get sober. I have disappointed myself and others so many times. I'm afraid of what their response will be. This is the most hard with my mom. I will just stay in my sober corner by myself. Oh, Teri, I'm going to let you open that one because I have a feeling where you're going to go with this.
Well, first off, and I get it, that family can be incredibly important with stuff that we want to share with them. But Angela, I would encourage you not to stay in a corner by yourself, but to find your tribe, find your friends, find people that can relate. And sometimes those are people you don't even know exist just yet. And don't snuff your own light out with where you've gone or how long you have been, living a sober life. If it's 6 months, if it's 1 year, if it's 3 weeks, don't take your knees out with not allowing yourself to celebrate regardless of the length, because then we set ourselves up to just believe we'll never do it. And I don't know you, but I don't believe that you'll never do it. I think it's real important that there's so many people out there, and this was proven in the last workshop that we did, Devon. There's so many people out there that have very similar struggles or life experiences, or they're dealing with some of the same things. And if we align ourselves with people who just don't give us grace or don't acknowledge the fact that you are doing your best.
Yes.
You are doing your best. We don't set out to just suck at something. We set out to do our best.
Yes.
And sometimes sometimes we're going to miss that whole board on our best. Sometimes we're going to, if the best was a bullseye on a dartboard, we're going to riddle the shit out of the drywall all around it. And sometimes our best is going to get the bullseye. And there's no judgment as to hitting the board, missing the board, or what. It is what it is. And we're getting up every day and dusting ourselves off and going, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to live my best me today. I got
living my best me. We need that, y'all. We need that. I'm living my best me today.
My
best me.
Mary Ann Morrissey has this saying that she said, well, I don't know if she still says it, but she said it years ago. And I heard her say it one time and I thought, I love that. She says, every day you get up, you got a brand new baby day. What are you going to do with that brand new baby day? How are you going to nurture it and breathe life into it? And how is that day going to be a pleasant day for you? I'm not even going to say a great day, a pleasant day. A memorable
How's it feel
day.
like? How's it feel like? Elizabeth, that's the important piece for me, figuring out if I really want to blank, fill in the blank. It's sometimes hard to sort through what I want versus what others think I should want. Whoo! There's some wisdom in those. Rhonda, I've heard I will never, a lot in my life, but in my life as an adult, I've been known as hell on wheels because I can be a hurricane when I want or need to be. I love my nickname. I love it. And Johnny Vinoker, thank you for jumping in here. And says, Devon, you are fabulous. Well, you are fabulous, JV. Loving you. Living my best me every day. That is our best. And that is going to come out of the book study February 26th with Teri. And we're talking about the book, The 4 Agreements. Let's look real quick. Now, will you have books there or do they bring their own book?
I will have some books there for individuals that don't have them. It is an intimate group, so there's going to be no more than 5. And right now I have 3 signed up. And I will have books if people don't have them. A lot of folks already have this book and they've got it highlighted and underlined and tagged and everything because it's a book that a lot of people have heard of. And it's definitely one of those books that I keep 2 or 3 copies at all times. And it is a version of a Bible for me because it truly is. These are 4 general practices that when we implement them in our lives, they change the way we show up for ourselves. They don't change the way other people show up for us. They don't change the way we show up for other people. They change the way we show up for ourselves.
You know, I want to go back to our comments that we had about if a child came to you and they were trying to stop a habit and they failed at it, let's say that day they go, you know what, I'm not going to kick the back of the seat. And somehow they just couldn't help it. They kick the back of the seat and they go, oops. Would you take that kid out and go, I never will trust you again to not kick the seat? You'd go, well, we mess up sometimes. And, you know, that little that is within inside someone who uses or drinks again, as long as you wake up with a new baby day, it's a new day to try again. And your best that day. And it's literally, that's why it is literally one day at a time. You wake up with, I love that. I'm going to keep that, you know, what are you going to do with this brand new baby day?
And let's be real. Sometimes, I mean, we hear a lot, you know, it's one day at a time. But sometimes it's 1 minute at a time. Sometimes when you are in a very weighted thought pattern, 1 minute can feel like 24 hours. You just want it to be over with. So what can you do in any given moment to shift the way that you're feeling about yourself, about a situation? And, you know, accountability is a huge part of that. Because, you know, are there consequences to things? Yes, but not all consequences have to be punitive. You know, we think automatically that if we have an unhealthy pattern in our life and we're going to, people do this all the time. Think of New Year's resolutions. January or December 30th or 31st rolls around and people are, you know, they are just gorging themselves because I'm not going to get to have this anymore. Right. So, and now starting tomorrow, I'm going to be different. Well, then there's all this pressure. I'm not doing it. I haven't done it. Now I have failed. It's like, set yourself up for success with it. Surround yourself with people that will hold you accountable with love and grace. Surround yourself with people that will not tolerate you talking shit about yourself. They'll say, "Hey, whoa, hang on a minute. Where are you going with that? Why'd you stamp your ticket on the pity train? Like, what's going on here?" You can be direct, loving, compassionate, and accountable, and you can surround yourself with people who will do that for you and with you.
Oh, that's right.
And doing that is how we set ourselves up for whatever our version of success is. Whether you work on Wall Street or whether you are a sanitation truck driver, you can still be successful in whatever you choose.
I was talking to a gentleman this week, and it was a really great conversation. It's going to be on my Main Street Today show. Josh was sharing a story. And when you spend the money to go to a recovery center, I mean, it's not cheap. And when that doesn't work, you feel like it's like, well, that didn't work, and you think about him, and I see him, and he is so together. He's good looking, and he's got everything going for him, and he's working at a recovery center now, and nobody would ever know that he had literally lost everything. And that he had been to 3 different recovery centers before the 4th one worked for him. So look, just reframing it and thinking about that little person that is within you. I love that. I love that. You will never succeed. We wouldn't tell that to any of the little ones inside us.
We wouldn't. And we say that to ourselves. How many people say that frequently? Oh, I'm just not good at this. Oh, this is never going to work. Oh, I'm stupid for even thinking I could do that. We would never tell a younger version of ourselves that they're stupid for wanting to dream. We just wouldn't. Now, we might have heard that in our life somewhere. We might have been surrounded intentionally or otherwise with people who, maybe they bloom, but they bloom like a pansy. And I don't mean a pansy in a bad pansy. I mean like a pansy flower. They're low to the ground, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you're a daylily. Maybe you bloom higher. They're both still beautiful. They just aren't on the same trajectory. And that's how we are as humans. So you can have friends and family that bloom smaller, but you can also surround yourself with people who bloom bigger.
I love it. The most important thing in that whole deal is surround yourself. Surround yourself with your
about
people.
What you're surrounding yourself with.
Amen. Amen. Well, we're going to bring this to a close, and I just wanted to encourage everybody to reach out to each other. If you're watching this on the replay, put a hashtag replay. If you'd like to be part of what I do, devanoday@gmail.com. Teri has Transcending Turbulence, and you can tell them how they can reach out to you for the 4 Agreements book study, February 26th.
For the 4 Agreements book study, just call me at 615-513-2700. And if you have any questions about sessions or what I do, who I am, and all the craziness that is my life, then you can find that at terrypugh.com.
And let's just put a bow on this puppy and send everybody off to a great day. Thank you all for being here. Angela, Elizabeth, JV, and Rhonda, and anybody who's watching on the replay, thank you so much.
Yes, yes. And thank you to all the folks that are listening and not saying anything, because I know there are several of you out there, because I get those texts and messages. I'm listening, but I'm not saying nothing. And I'm like, it's okay. You don't got to say anything. We know you're there. We love you just the same. So thank you all for sharing today and trusting us with your truth. And until we see you next week, increase the peace and create a memorable day.